I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. We have CMaster here. Hi.
Hello.
Please introduce yourself to everybody.
All right. I am CMaster, also known as CMaster25. I am a corrupted robot who does speedruns and also does some interviews as well, some here and there.
So, and I'd seen a couple of your interviews and a couple of your speed runs. When did you decide to go on and publicize your speed runs?
I believe around 2019 when I first got into I think I first started getting into speedrunning when I played a little game called Celeste Classic.
Mm-hmm.
It was essentially like a small 8-bit version of Celeste.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, I think I was very addicted to playing that game. And at some point, I started to speedrun that. And I think from that, it kind of just started snowballing into me playing another game, and then it kind of snowballs like widely into many games.
So the speedrun game, the bug kind of bit you early on in playing these games. What draws you to want to speedrun these games?
Probably for the leaderboards, because many people who I know are some friends I know do speedrun games, and some of them are also some of the top players. Mostly also because I got some inspiration from Mario 64 speedrunning, and because I know that game is very hard, and I started speedrunning with smaller games where I know I can get pretty high up on the leaderboards, and it's not very difficult.
Mm-hmm. Not very difficult for you. Now, maybe for somebody who's as uncoordinated as I am, a speedrun means finish the game at all. So these are particular games that you're able to learn quickly, learn the shortcuts and warp zones and all of that stuff to get through. Am I right on that?
Oftentimes, yes, but sometimes for some games, typically for the main game that I'm speedrunning right now, which is One Shot, sometimes we do tend to find some new skips and sometimes some time losses here and there, which are sometimes better and sometimes for the worse. So it sometimes depends on if the game is active enough to get for people to find more skips or not.
So yeah, you have to. So you don't go in having studied the game online, have watched other people do the speed runs and then copy them, or do you find these areas yourself as you play the game?
I mostly play the game first by myself, and then if I do decide to speedrun it, I first find my own little route, and then afterwards I go into if they have a speedrunning Discord server and then check out what some of the more optimal routes of them might be.
Have you ever found one that no one else has found yet?
Sometimes, yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And do you share them with people, or do you keep them for yourself?
Sometimes if it comes to multiple seconds, I might go and post them to some of the channels and speedruns. But sometimes if it's close to maybe a few short milliseconds, or if that skip might depend on me getting a new personal best, or even sometimes a potential world record, then I might keep it for myself for a few days until I actually get a new run.
There's nothing wrong with that, because it's a competitive situation for you. You're trying to get the edge on everybody, and if you find that little, and that's where it comes down to now in this day and age. If you can find 0.02 of a second, that might do it for you.
Absolutely, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it's in any type of speed competition, whether it's that or whether it's physical sports or anything along those lines. Do you are you the type of speed runner who takes advantage of glitches in the game, or do you look for the routes that are programmed in intentionally?
It is sometimes a 50-50 kind of thing where I tend to usually do the glitches of the game before I then decide to do something more of the lines of what might be actually intended.
Mm. So if you find something in say level one and you do something a particular way, suddenly you're on level five, and that's perfectly okay for you on a speed run.
Definitely, yes.
Mm,
If it is in the glitched categories, then definitely. But if it's on something like glitchless, then I would probably first go and reset the run or change the category to glitched.
yeah, well, yeah, there are different categories for it. There because are there have you found times where there are some glitches that don't happen all the time that that just have to have a certain that are almost random and that you have to take advantage of?
Sometimes yes, actually, and it's quite annoying, I have to say. For some for some games, it's like it sometimes is kind of like a 50-50 if I get it or not.
Mm,
But for some tricks, if I tend to usually do them often, I sometimes get them maybe like once or twice after like maybe 5 runs.
mm. So it's almost a 20% chance of you hitting it sometimes, but when you do hit it, then you got to take advantage of it, and you're not able to make any mistakes the rest of the way.
Absolutely. And it definitely gets on the nerves if you're on like personal best or like world record potential.
Hmm. When you're just in that last couple of frames, and then suddenly you miss the key, or you slip
I've had
you slip
I've
off
had
the
that happen.
yes. Oh, that's painful. That's painful. That's painful. But
It's very painful.
yeah, now what is the now you said that at one point you were in number one in at least one game. Which one was it?
Funny enough, it is in the main game that I currently speedrun most, which is One Shot.
Hmm.
Um, it was once the first time I got a world record was from One Shot where in the New Game Plus category, I think it was the glitched version of it. The last world record was like 3-4 years ago,
Hmm.
and it was very slow because in those 3-4 years, a lot of like glitches were found and stuff.
Right.
And and because of that, it was very easy for me to actually like get through into the world record and even actually break a sub-minute barrier.
Hmm. So you were able to get into it very quickly. You found a run that you were able to take advantage of all of those things.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, and but it's folks have to realize it's not just taking advantage of those. You've got to hit it right. There's still the skill of using the controller or keyboard or whatever you're doing. You could have the whole thing laid out in front of you, and one little slip of the keyboard, and you're done.
Absolutely, yes. Like one tiny mistake could sometimes lead to losing multiple seconds, which could be the biggest like run killer, or sometimes even like completely ruin a run so
Mm.
that you have to reset.
Now, take me through a run. You've gone through the whole thing. You've got hit every warp, every glitch, everything. You're in the last 30 seconds, and you slip off the pad. How
Oh man.
how loud do you yell?
And I typically when I lose right at the end, I typically just go away from my chair, maybe like pause the stream a little bit, like maybe walk around the room like a minute or two. Uh but definitely probably then come back, maybe like practice some stuff here and there so that I could probably improve.
Very, very quietly. Not going to talk about
Definitely
it.
quiet.
Not talking about it. I'm going to do something else now. so, so that's one big aspect of what you do online. But you're also a talk show host. But how did it?
Yeah,
How
I
did that get started?
uh it was probably around 2022, I would say, where I noticed that I wasn't using my VTuber model like a lot. Like the it was probably the last time when in 2022 that I used my model was a while, and it was also very rarely that I used it. And at that point, I just kind of thought I should probably use my model a little bit more and to kill like two birds with one stone because I am a little bit introverted. I just decided to maybe go and interview some other VTubers as well. And that's kind of where it started with me doing these small, well, I could say small, but sometimes they're an hour long interview videos with some like people.
Mm-hmm. And as the how's the response been to that?
Definitely, I have seen some positivity to it. I haven't seen much activity to the videos. Like the most recent one has been quite stagnant, but for some of the interviews that I did, they did reach way higher than my usual like video views. Like some videos get like 5 times the amount of views I get, which is for me sometimes around the 40, 50 viewer mark,
Mm-hmm.
which is surprising to me.
Is it when? Why did you decide to talk with other VTubers? Um, and have they been open to doing these interviews?
Um, it's mostly been more of like the people I currently know, like the people I'm friends with right now.
Mm-hmm.
But they definitely have been very kind, very open to me doing these interviews with them. And it has been definitely a very fun thing to do on the side while I currently try to find something that would probably get me to stream more.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's great to see that that folks are getting this opportunity to talk a little bit about themselves and about what they do with the VTuber community and a little bit about outside the VTuber community. And you sound like someone who's interested enough to keep that going.
Absolutely, yes. It's been almost, I think, around 2 years ago. It might have been already 2 years ago, but I'm not sure yet.
Mm,
I would need to check on that first video, but I definitely intend to do more of these interviews and hopefully get to do more in like a year because last year I only was able to do like two or three because I had a major burnout.
mm-hmm.
But I hope that this year I will still be able to get like two more in.
Yeah, yeah. It because you've got the video aspect to go along with it. I'm just doing the audio part, so it's a little easier for me to get it edited and put up. But you've got the whole setup going with it. What have you gotten out of those interviews? Have you found out some things you didn't know before, and what joy does that bring you?
Definitely learned a lot of things about other VTubers and how they started streaming. Like that's one of the main things I usually ask as well. But mostly for like things about VTubing, I learned a lot now as of recently from interviewing a lot of people, and also some of their like backstories here and there about some, which is very interesting for me to learn, especially from the most recent person I interviewed. Uh, they had kind of like tips for doing like event kind of things, and I am actually currently like thinking of doing some event about like speedrunning.
Mhm.
So these tips have also definitely helped me a lot into strategizing and thinking about what to do.
It's really amazing to be able to tap into what other people have done, and there's so many stories among VTubers that's really drawn me to talk. I mean, you've got a different backstory than the person I talked to a couple hours ago. It's a different. You can talk to 100 people and get 100 different stories. It's pretty amazing.
It's very amazing to see like the amount of change of stories that some people have, definitely.
Mm, different. You get folks who are introverted, folks who are extroverted, folks who didn't know what they wanted to do, and suddenly now they do. You said yourself you're a little bit introverted. So how do you go from that to getting online in front of people with an audience? How'd you make that jump?
It was probably because of streaming, which I kind of started with trying to get out of that introverted state
Hmm.
and do more things outside with more people. And especially more recently because of some like things in the background happening here and there in my life currently,
Hmm.
which I'm trying to make where I do need to have more like talking skills.
Hmm.
And because of my nervousness, and sometimes it's very difficult to do that. So I thought because of streaming and such with my model, I should probably do something that is more focused around talking with more people.
Well, it does make you more comfortable in talking with people that you barely know or maybe just know their name. Um, in my experience, the comfort is a big part of it because if you are comfortable and the guest is comfortable, then the conversation will be comfortable. And I can tell you right now, in talking with you these minutes, I can't tell that you would be uncomfortable because you just sound very laid back to me and able to carry this very well. Have you kind of has that kind of been something that you've learned through interviewing people online?
Definitely, yes. You can definitely tell in the first interview that I did that I was more stuttering
Hmm.
than like mostly talking. And even during like the raw footage that I sometimes have to go through, I usually stutter and like have to re-record a lot,
Hmm.
which usually tends to be like multiple hours of like footage that I go through, which I then cut down into like half an hour, 1 hour videos. So there's a definitely lot of re-recording and stuttering that I had to cut out.
Well, that's the power of editing. It makes us puts a little shine on all of us. That it does. And folks don't need to know about that. That's all behind the curtain. We none of us ever have to edit things. We're always perfect.
all all behind the scenes, nothing to see.
Do not look at the man behind the curtain. It really it you've got a different perspective than I do in doing these interviews because you are doing the streaming. Have you found that that gives you a really good angle to talk to people on other VTubers about VTubing?
Sometimes yes, but also sometimes no, because it depends on sometimes if I know a bit about them or if I have seen them before.
Mhm.
But if I don't know much about them, it tends to be more like where my mind is thinking like, what am I supposed to ask them? What do they think? What are they supposed to like answer to those questions that I sometimes give and such?
Hmm. Do you have a list of questions that you go through, or do you try to go off the cuff as much as possible?
It's mostly when I get the confirmation of the person that they uh want to do the interview. I first go and post something on my Twitter, now known as X, but I usually first go and ask people on Twitter if they have questions for the person,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that I look at like I type out kind of like a list on like what the questions I should probably ask them. And then during the interview, if I think of like some things here and there, I tend to sometimes ramble off my back and sometimes ask questions
Yeah.
out of thin air.
Well, and that's good because that means you're following up and you're listening to what they're saying. I've heard a lot of people try to do interviews and they stick with the questions that are written down way in advance. Sometimes the best questions are the ones you didn't think of.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, and you kind of break that egg a little bit and get to. Now you've done some of these interviews that are over an hour, and obviously some of those are you couldn't have stuck with a script there. there had to be some ad libs in that one for sure.
Definitely, yes, a lot.
Yeah, it's great to be able to have that sort of back and forth banter, and when you get a good guest on, and everybody, first of all, everybody's a good guest, but if you get a guest on that you really are able to connect with and talk, kind of like we're doing here, just talking, it makes a lot of difference, and the more you're interested in it, the more the people who are listening are going to be interested in it.
Absolutely, yes, definitely.
Wow.
And even like for the people that I have interviewed, I sometimes, well, not sometimes, but mostly since the second episode, I've asked people for questions that I should ask for the next person
Hmm.
I might interview.
Hmm.
And usually I don't even say who I'm going to interview, mainly because I haven't asked anyone next yet.
Right.
Uh, but after they ask the question for like the next person, what I tend to do is I cut that part out where they ask the question
Hmm.
out of the video, and then uh, when I interview the next person, I give them those questions at the end as kind of like a surprise, kind of like questions thing,
Yeah.
and it sometimes gets them very off guard and surprises them a lot. And it's very funny to see their reactions to the person from previous episodes ask themselves. Sometimes even like extreme weird stuff.
Now, that's cool. That's a nice concept. I like that a lot. It adds something a little special on to the end of the interview, and the fact that you bring in other people to have questions too, because some of those folks, if they know who the guest is, they might have questions of their own that you didn't think of. They know them a little bit, and you can incorporate that in. Those are some pretty good ideas.
Definitely, yeah. I definitely got a lot of the inspiration from doing these interviews from Anthony Padilla.
Hmm.
And he does sometimes with other people as well. He asks on his YouTube, his Twitter, and everything for people to for questions for a person that he's interviewing, and that kind of also gave me the inspiration of asking other people on Twitter as well for people I am interviewing.
Yeah. Well, folks, if you're a VTuber, um, maybe get a hold of CMaster and he'll have you on too, and you can discuss some things. Is that okay to shill for you a little bit to have folks get in touch with you if they want to be interviewed?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if you want to talk with CMaster and find out and have and interview with him, please do so. We'll have some links in the description for the interview here up on the YouTube channel. Uh, what have you got planned for the near future? Have you got any big plans for yourself or your channel or any other different games you'd like to speed run?
Definitely speedrun more games other than like mainly one. But also I have a kind of like speedrunning event in the works that I'm thinking of right now.
Hmm.
It is definitely going to take a bit because I have also like never done anything like this, like something of doing a big event.
Hmm.
So I definitely am currently learning as of like doing the entire like thing. And mostly also just depends on how many people I can find that actually are interested in interviewing and speedrunning with me for this event.
I think you'll find a pretty good bunch. I think that that they're that the folks who are doing this are going to want to talk to you about it, and maybe they'll try to pick your mind for your information. Try to save that as much as possible. Don't be giving them any tips. Just try to steal theirs. That's the best way. That's the best way to go through life. No, it's not really. But hey, CMaster, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and I wish you nothing but the best. I hope you get a lot more people coming up with you for the interviews, and I hope your speed runs are as speedy as you possibly can get.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on as well.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.